Hey everyone, how's it going? Octopus here and welcome back to evercrisis. We're going to be talking about Aerith's new banner that just came out. She's the first of 3 banners that we are verified for this crossover. So best advice, I'm going to jump into this right away, is that you guys should be waiting, right? If you're not needing her to pass the content right now, she's not in the next push. There's no guild battles. The battle ranking is currently not here right now. You still have time. This is something that you should really wait and be like, do I want Aerith, Autie, Barret, or see what's coming up next? Because these are here all the way till February 26th. So key advice right now, don't rush it, wait and see. Also use all your draw tickets, all your free pulls before you start making wish lists, because you might end up OB10ing something off those tickets or the wish list, and then you come here and you wasted it. So that's another thing I want you guys to really slow down on. Really wait for those last days of the banners. Another thing to jump into this, Aerith is an amazing character. Every limited weapon she's gotten, for the majority of it, right, has been fantastic. And this is no exception. This thing is ridiculously good. But that being said, as an older player who has Bahamut Rod, Kimura Rod from the Monster Hunter collaboration, it's one of those things you can skip, right? It's not perfectly black and white just like that. Like, oh yeah, if you have those, skip it, because this is more of a ranking weapon. It's still a PvE weapon where you can bring it into PvE content and do fantastic with it. But if you're trying to compare one to the other of those other 2 limited weapons, this one is going to help a lot more in ranking just because of how it's built. And I'm going to explain that in a second. But those quick answers you guys want, if you're a new player, yes, get it. If you don't have anything else for her, she's a fantastic healer and she keeps getting support in this game over and over. So she's not a bad investment. If you are a player who is not a newer player, but you don't have the other weapons, yes, get it. It's definitely worth it, especially the costume as well. Now, if you're someone who has those 2 limited weapons, it's a question of how serious are you when it comes to ranking. Is it going to make a huge difference? Not huge, but you will see a difference. And comparing them is not really the right way to do this, because if Kimura Wand came out right now and we had this wand before, we could also be like, oh, well, the other one just comes with magic defense when another character can do that, or she has Mithril Rod or something, right? So there's always 2 ways of looking at things. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because on stream last night, we had all these conversations. We had the whole compare one to the other. Where is it good? Where is it not good? So it's not just me sitting here and going like, this is what I think, right? This is a full conversation I had with the community. I was streaming on YouTube and Twitch. A lot of people came in. Everyone had their opinions, and we went back and forth. So what does this weapon do after the long intro, and why is it so much of a conversation? One, Aerith, limited weapon. It's a limited weapon. All her greatest weapons are limited weapons, and there's not enough weapon parts in the game. So even if you try to grab like 1 copy of this and you're going to OB6 it later, we said that about the other collaborations, the other crossovers, the other anniversary weapons, and it's hard to justify just pulling 1 copy and being like, I'll OB6 it later, because it's almost impossible unless you're buying those weapon part packs. So what does this weapon do at just 1 copy? For 5 ATB, something I want to point out, because I didn't really last night, is that this thing costs 5 ATB compared to 4 ATB on the other wands. But for 5 ATB, you get healing, physical attack, loaded mid, and you get +1 ATB gauge. There's no argue here that all this casted in 1 is ridiculously strong. Like, ridiculously strong. To have 5 abilities, especially healing, with the characters made for, just no thought process here, right? So you just go click, heal, oh, I got some buffs with it, and the team got +1 ATB. Now, you might be thinking, well, 50% or less, yeah, that one's kind of rough. Even with the hardest content, you're not going to be constantly at 50% or less, but at OB6, you will be at 70%. So I think OB6 is a perfect spot to stop at, especially because it's limited. You can't wishlist this later on. You have to get this OB6 now or wait a long time for weapon parts. So at OB6, it goes to 54% healing all allies. Physical attack goes to mid to high. And again, you get +1 ATB for everyone except for her if you have 70% or less HP. OB10 brings that to 90%, meaning that even like an auto attack from an enemy, this thing can give your other characters +1 ATB with a little bit more healing at 59%. So when it comes to the actual C ability, this thing is S tier. And I know you're going to compare it to Kimura Wand and Bahamut Rod, but picture this. If this weapon was out first, right, and you had healing, physical attack, and +1 ATB, and then Kimura Wand came out and all it has is physical attack and magic defense, the argument can be, well, not every enemy does magic attacks, so you don't need magic defense all the time. So all you're doing is really increasing physical attack, right? But at high in one cast, which is really good. But it's just a physical attack up weapon, which other people do have AoE physical attack up weapons as well. So why do I want to emphasize this? Because again, you can skip this if you already have those other two weapons. But now picture this, Bahamut Rod and this rod on Aerith, every single cast you do is healing, healing, healing. No matter what ability you use, you're constantly healing the party, and that's her job. Now she's also constantly giving +1 ATB, +1 ATB, +1 ATB, +1 ATB every time she casts ability. Kimura Wand can't do that. And then on top of it, you're also still increasing physical attack. If you do need magic defense, you have Matt, Red 13, Barret, they all have AoE magic defense up. Even Yuffie's Bahamut Rod has that. So you have 4 other characters that can do the magic defense up for you, while Aerith just goes healing ATB while also applying buffs. So this is why I think this weapon is so good when it comes to the PvP side, because when we do guild battles, battle rankings, most of the time we don't have to put our defense up for the earlier stages, even sometimes stage 5 on guild rankings, you're constantly being aggressive. So to be able to constantly heal yourself while making sure the buff is always reapplied and giving your party +1 ATB because the enemies hit so hard, it's like having a constant haste on every ability you're using for the team. So this is what makes this weapon so strong. And as a new player, every single fight you're in, you can heal, you can raise physical attack for the physical teams, and you can get ATB +1. This is always going to be valuable, where magic defense is not always used. You're always just using it for physical attack. So if you ever sit there like, oh, I need a physical attack weapon, if you had both options, which one would you use? The one that gives healing, physical attack, and ATB, because that applies to every fight in the game, where magic defense doesn't. Again, I'm not putting down Kimura Wand. I'm not saying this one is better than the other one. They both have their places because you can only hold 6 weapons, but you can't deny how strong this weapon is, and especially when it comes to rankings. It's safe to skip. Again, for those that have the 2 limited weapons already, it's safe to skip and you're okay. So, with that long explanation out of the way, because these are the things we talked about, 5 ATB and then the Bahamut Rod. I'm going to go talk about the R abilities too, but I want to emphasize each section on its own. That way we can get like a clear idea of what we're doing here and what we're talking about. But the whole thing I'm comparing it to is Kimura Wand here, right? Physical attack high, all allies. Magic defense up, all allies, and a very tiny heal. Our abilities are HP and then buff duration, right? So if you're not facing an enemy that does magic attack, this ability is doing nothing, and all you're doing is increasing physical attack for 4 ATB, and then you have to wait to ATB come back up and then go switch to a healing weapon. So your total is 9 ATB to buff and heal, where the new weapon, 5 ATB to buff, heal, and ATB boost. So that's how I'm picturing this weapon, right? Same here, 5 ATB, and I know when Bahamut Rod came out and I was talking about this weapon, saying how good it was, people complained it was 5 ATB, saying how it's only a heal physical defense, and ATB boost is not going to happen all the time. And now that we're into the game and people are using this, a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I didn't skip it. It's such a good weapon. It's one of the best weapons. It's like, you got to pick and choose what you're going for. You can't just go, oh, that's no good because I already have so-and-so, because every weapon has its place. But rocking 2 weapons, heal, physical defense up, and 90% for ATB boosting, then you do that for this weapon, very, very strong. So our abilities on this weapon are fantastic. An OB1 copy, which I don't think that you guys should really consider if you're going to go for this. Try to get it OB6, but 32 healing, buff duration, OB6, 40 points to healing and 27 points. And if you OB10 this weapon, which these kind of weapons, Bahamut Rod and this one, just to make that convenient 90%, should be the long-term goal, but it's not necessary. 70% is more than enough for the hard content, right? But buff duration at 39 with 46 healing, really good. Now, the unique thing about this weapon, no other healing weapon on Aerith, I think, has this sigil. I think this is our first healing weapon that has a sigil boost with it, if any. So having a healer that can do 5 sigils will come in handy, especially if they start increasing how many sigils an enemy has and how fast you have to break it. Because you don't need the AoE healing on this, all cure. So we replaced the all cure slot because this weapon already heals, and now we got a sigil break, which is crazy to think about how much they're squeezed into one package. The slots on a character for a team is very limited. Every character gets 2 weapons. So if a weapon only does one thing, you're wasting your slot. When a weapon does multiple things, it's super powerful. Healing, physical attack, ATB boost, a sigil breaker, all in one package is pretty good. Not pretty good, it's on the top ranking of weapons. So that's the overall package of the new Aerith rod. I'm not going to pronounce the Gambangtane. We're going to go into her dress. Now, first thing we have here is ATB boost that can be mixed with guild weapons. So having this alone, you start off with 2.5 ATB, and this isn't really necessary at the moment, but it does make a difference when it comes to, again, rankings, guild battles. Starting with 2.5 abilities, you can start ramping up your limit break or your summon faster, because the more ATB you use, the more summon gauge you get. So that's one thing. Fights like Aerith, where we need to get our summon off of Red 13 right away, or sorry, his limit break, we had to put that guild weapon on there to do it. So at the moment, it's not like, ooh, this is really, really good, but it will have its place, and it's a nice bonus towards a character that is constantly putting up shields, healing, buffing. So extra ATB is always good, but it's only good for the beginning of the battle, which makes it not every single fight is going to be valuable. But it's still a really good addition. Now, the Loveless songstress dress does have something called Soothing Song, which gives buff and debuff duration 40%, and it's a standalone, and then you can do your R abilities from your weapons to get even more, and it has healing plus 10%. The only thing this is really missing is some defense, right? Some way to survive, but for what it is, it's a great combination, right? We are needing more and more HP in this game, and more healing, because a healer can't heal 14,000 in one cast, so healing's always always welcomed. But buff duration is staple. It's so good on these kind of characters. Just wish there was some way of surviving a little bit more. HP or defense would have been nice. I prefer the defense, because you can't heal 14,000 HP, but you can heal less HP, high defense characters. So, do I think the dress is worth it? I do think the dress is very worth it. It's going to have its place in many places, and she looks fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You cannot deny. This one looks amazing. So, that is the kit. I do really want to emphasize February 26th, multiple banners coming up, 1.5 anniversary. Take your time, right? Especially when you're wish listing, you don't know what you need to go for. Use all those free polls, those tickets, whatever you're getting in the game, and then come back and do this wish list once you see Yuffie, Barret, and whatever else they're going to plan for the future, because February 26th is a very long time. I do think, I know this is going to be a very valuable weapon in rankings. And if you already have the other ones, if you're a whale, it is something you're probably considering, and there's a reason for that. If you're someone who has the other ones and you're casual spender or free to play, you can definitely skip it if you missed the didn't miss the Monster Hunter one. So me personally, I'm gonna skip it. If I was full of resources, I would have grabbed it easily. So wishlist wise, there isn't really anything for Aerith specifically. Let me change my camera over here. But Barret is on the banner with his ultimate weapon, and these are his best ones in my opinion. Assault gun for physical defense, this one for magic defense, this one for great R abilities in the back weapons, which not for Barret specifically, but you could, because it has physical and magic attack decrease, which helps in a lot of quests, so still really good on him, and sub weapons for a magic setup. This is your healing weapon if you're going to use them for sub healing or main healing, because it has all cure, and it also magic attack is increased on a single ally, which does help, right? So all these weapons here are really good Barret weapons, because this banner does come with his ultimate weapon, and his ultimate weapon is actually really good. It's very unique too. It's got physical resistance increased and magic resistance, which cuts damage by 50%, so it lets you survive a lot of big attacks. And a lot of people said, well, when an enemy does a death move, it's like 70k damage. Mix this in a team where your other characters have reprieve and Barret doesn't have reprieve, right? He stops some big attacks in there, and then when it comes to the death move, reprieve is still active because he had 2 uses of cutting 50% damage. And now come to the end where the death move comes, they kill Barret, and then you have your last 2 characters, which most likely DPS, to try to finish off that last little bit of HP. So it lets you cheese a lot of content, right? especially if you have like Vincent and Tifa on the party, Barret's your healer. He 50% one death move that did 20,000, now got cut to 10,000. Everyone survived. He did that again, and then came the real move that you can't stop. Reprieve kicks in. So this could prolong fights where you would have died right away, but now you can cheese a lot of content with it and help with a lot of oh no moments. And then it comes with a unique art ability here. Right now I don't really have great value for this thing. Again, he can probably survive one of those bigger hits because of this, but it's only a veil on self when you're interrupting an enemy. So sigil phase, you broke his sigils, Barret automatically gets a buff of 25% of max HP as a shield, just for himself, which lasts 60 seconds. So it's gonna have its moments, right? But it's not like, ooh, I need to pull it for just this, because if the rest of the party doesn't have veil and you're counting on that to protect them to survive an attack, it doesn't really make too much sense. So right now, at the moment, it's good. It's gonna have its moments, but not something to go like, that's why I want it. But the 50% reduced with the rest of his kit I just showed you, all that physical attack down, physical defense, magic defense up, having an all cure slot, buffing magic. He is a very strong character, and he was for a very long time until Aerith started getting a lot of limited banners. Matt and Barret went down on the main healer because of how strong she is, but it still makes him a very strong character, especially now he has that new ultimate weapon. So altogether, when it comes to Aerith, if you're new to the game, I do recommend the Mithril Rod, at least one copy. You don't have to OB6 it to have some sort of magic physical defense, but realistically focus on buffing your DPS. Whatever banner or whatever character you have for DPS, when you're pulling this banner, try to make that DPS stronger, because you still need to get through the content fast enough during fights so they don't kill you, because eventually you can't just turtle an entire fight when it comes to certain content. But OB6ing her new weapon is definitely the way to go. So I think I covered everything. Hopefully I did. I think this is an amazing weapon. It's just a weapon for people who don't have the other ones to get, and for whales to get a very competitive weapon for all those ranking events. Let me know what you guys think. That's pretty much everything. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you later.